Welcome to Guftagu, Dia. The year 2000, when I talk about it, was a monumental year for you and for India. Lara Datta, Priyanka Chopra and you were the winners of Miss India. Lara Datta went on to become Miss Universe. Priyanka became Miss World and you became Miss Asia Pacific.
Miss India is our Miss Asia Pacific 2000. Dia Mirza Handrich, Miss India.
Brings me to Samaira, who has saved my number on her phone as Dia, not yet the evil stepmother.
Oh my god.
And I'd be like, theater में देख लिया होता तो picture super hit हो जाती. देने वाला जब भी देता छप्पड़ फाड़ के.
Entering Bollywood industry as an outsider. So how difficult was it to navigate through this?
No, it was really hard. It was really hard. When you win a beauty title and then you become a Hindi film actor, the whole industry wants to treat you as a commodity. Maddy played more of a mentor's role. He was guiding me, advising me.
So you were like around 4 or 5 when your parents got divorced. What are your thoughts on divorce or separation?
Avyan gave me indescribable strength. I was allowed to visit him only twice a week. I could not hold my child till he was 2.5 kilos. I remember listening to Mahamrityunanjay mantra on repeat. इतने prayers के बाद अगर आया है तो छोड़ के तो नहीं जाएगा मुझे. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep.
Welcome to Guftagu, Dia.
Thank you.
And thank you for inviting us to your home.
Thank you for coming. And
It's a beautiful place.
Thank you.
So, Dia, you had achieved big things in life at the age of 20. You won Miss India and then you continued becoming Miss Asia Pacific. You delivered a very big hit at the age of 20, right? Rehnaa hai tere dil mein.
Well, it eventually got called a hit, but when it released, it was a colossal disaster at the box office.
I didn't know about that. Yeah.
So it was actually at that time perceived as a very big failure. But we can talk about that later. You finish your question.
Yeah. All right. So I wanted to know that how important of a role did your upbringing play in this journey of yours?
So I think it's important to clarify that growing up, I was a part of a system that didn't really encourage competition of any kind. I went to a school that was based on J. Krishnamurthy's philosophy. तो हमारे स्कूल में ना रैंकिंग, ना ग्रेडिंग, ना परसेंटाइल, ना कंपटीशन, ना टेस्ट्स, ना एग्जाम्स, कुछ नहीं होता था. In Hyderabad. It was an ICSE board, but without all of this.
Mm-hmm.
And so my foundation growing up was one that had no form of aggression. And I use the word very carefully and thoughtfully because competition is a form of aggression.
Okay.
It makes you, there is a capitalist consumerist culture that is completely reliant and dependent on making individuals aggressive. Fight for your right, fight to come first, beat the other person. It's all about putting somebody else down so that you can grow. Right. And it's about individual growth and not so much about collective. And J. Krishnamurthy's philosophy speaks against all of this. And it's about being raised or growing up in an inclusive, kind, loving environment that is free of fear, that is free of judgment, and most importantly, is free of aggression. Therefore, there's no punishment, there is no competition, etc. So I grew up in this little gentle bubble, really, because the real world is so far removed from any of these ideas, right? And I remember being in the 7th or the 8th grade in my school and feeling like I am so disconnected from reality. The outside world is harsh, it's hard, and maybe I need to kind of, expose myself to it. So the first real shocker was when I changed schools and I went to a mainstream all-girls school from a co-ed school.
You moved cities
And
or in the same
in
city?
the same city. And that was my first introduction to reality, so to speak. And it was a hard knock. And then what followed was just different things opening up for me. So one of the things that happened was I was spotted by this model coordinator called Roma in Hyderabad.
All right.
And she said, modeling karogi? And I was like, kya? So she said, yeah. So that's another thing with, I never grew up taking the way I looked seriously.
Okay.
I was very aware of the fact that I got special attention, but I never took it seriously because my mum never let me take it seriously. आज तक मेरे दिमाग में उनकी आवाज़ गूंजती है, where she would say, beauty is only as good as it does. So if you're not a good person, your beauty is inconsequential. It's irrelevant. And she says, चेहरे का नूर तभी बनता है जब इंसान का दिल अच्छा होता है.
Right.
So just focus on being a good person first. And so I never thought of myself as beautiful physically, and it was never something that I thought would be something that would lead me onto this path or journey in life. So when Roma offered me modeling, I was like, oh, okay. But then when she told me how much money I could earn, I said, acha, this makes sense. I can
Okay.
continue studying and make some serious pocket money. And that may, help me contribute
Right.
to my
How old
home.
were you back then?
16.
Oh, just 16. Okay.
And simultaneously, I actually, even during my summer holidays, took this summer job at an IT firm
Okay.
in Hyderabad. And I still have a visiting card that says Dia Mirza Marketing Executive.
Okay. Oh, right.
So
I don't know about that.
it was a multimedia studio called Dr. Neeraj's Multimedia Studios in Hyderabad. And what started off as a summer internship became a full-time job. So I was studying and I was working and I was modeling. And I suddenly at age 16, 17 felt like a superwoman.
Marketing
because financial
executive, yeah.
independence does that. Yeah, and also I felt like I was very in control of
Right.
my destiny suddenly. Like I could make better choices, I could earn, do what I wanted, travel. And I took my first international flight after I won the Miss India. I'd never taken an international flight before that. So a lot did change in those early years that I, achieved financial independence. But it was also very different from the world that I had been,
Yeah.
my foundation.
Right.
So there was this tug of war that used to happen in the early days, where, especially in my early film career, when I suddenly felt commodified. Because when you win a beauty title and then you win an international beauty pageant and then you become a Hindi film actor, the whole industry wants to treat you as a commodity.
Okay.
Because that's a natural thing,
Yeah.
right? There's money to be made with your
Yeah.
face and your name and
Right.
these accolades that you've just won.
Yeah.
And suddenly you're reduced to just being a commodity and not really treated so much as a human being or a person even. And interestingly, at that time, the film industry was also a very different place.
Okay.
It was not as inclusive as it is today.
Things have changed over the years, right?
They definitely have. And in many parts for the better. But when I started out on a film set, the predominant population would be male with barely any women. And the entire process was centered on what would appeal to the man on the set and what was, necessary for the man on the set.
Yeah.
Or comfortable or convenient for the man on the set. The woman was really not anybody's priority.
Right.
So early in my film career, I felt like very torn and very lost because my whole life I had set on a very different path. While I enjoyed the financial independence and freedom and the joy that came with, there was also many things that were a big struggle.
Yeah. And you talked about how the early years played an important role in your life. When we go back and we talk about young Dia, right? So you were like around 4 or 5 when your parents got divorced. So when we talk about divorce, it is still a taboo when we talk about it in today's times as well. We post a lot of stories on People of India, and बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो 40-50 साल तक शादी में रहते हैं just for the sake of their kids.
Yeah.
और families बोलती हैं कि अगर divorce हो जाए तो बच्चे पे क्या असर पड़ेगा या लोग क्या कहेंगे. So what are your thoughts on divorce or separation?
मेरे माँ बाप ने बहुत अच्छी तरह से मुझे इस बात को हमें समझाने की कोशिश की, और मैं जब मुड़कर देखती हूँ तो इवन आई फील लाइक इससे अच्छा तो मैं भी नहीं बोल पाती. ये तो बहुत सही बात थी कि you know, a partnership, a relationship and a family, a home environment is what prepares a child for relationships in life.
Right.
So their perception of love, their perception of friendship, their understanding of trust all comes from parents. Now, if parents don't get along, and there's a trust deficit, and there's a lack of respect, and they're what do you call incompatible. I'm not even getting into domestic violence because we have so much of that, right? In my case, my parents were not getting along, and it was making them unhappy. And they explained to me that we'd rather be apart and be good friends and provide you a happy growing up environment than be together, make each other miserable, and provide you an unhealthy environment to grow up in. And they honored what they said. They, even though they separated, they remained best of friends. They were extremely respectful to one another. I never heard one demeaning or disrespecting the other in my presence. And it helped me understand that two people may love each other, but they may not be able to live together. And I needed to accept that. And while it was a very alienating concept in the time that it happened when I was growing up, because divorce was not as common as it's become, it was uncommon and it was taboo. So I was that odd kid in class and in school. But I'm grateful that my parents were honest with me and straightforward with me, because it kind of conditioned all so much of my choices later in life.
So जितना rare finding the right person for you होता है, उतना ही rare होता है to find love again.
Yeah.
And to fall in love again. And आपके केस में ऐसे ही हुआ that your mother got remarried and
So did my dad.
So did your father, okay. And then a new relationship was building in your life when you were young with your stepfather. So how difficult or easy was it for you to form the new bond?
See, separation and divorce is tricky.
Yeah.
There's a whole new idea of life that one needs to adapt to. In my case, both my parents found their respective partners after their divorce, 1.5 years after. And in my case, I moved into a home with like a joint family. So there was a grandparent, there was my adoptive father, there was his siblings, their children. It was a large, spacious home with like big trees and lots of space, and I was extremely comfortable. Yet there was a lot of work to be done.
Right.
I had to form relationships with new people. I had to find my own self in that whole mix. And then, of course, also find my identity within the community. So my stepfather, or my adoptive father is what I refer to him as, took me, I mean, like when we used to go for weddings and stuff, that whole thing, na, ye kiski beti hai? Ahmed ki beti hai. And then they would be like, when did he have a kid who's grown so big, right? In their heads, they're not able to kind of see the, and then oh, acha, this is Deepa's daughter. People kind of so in these are very small examples, but in a child's mind, these can play out as very big things. So initially it was hard, but eventually it got easier. And I think the most wonderful thing that happened in all of this was, I benefited from the love of two sets of parents. And even though I lost my biological father when I was only 9, my adoptive father gave me a safe and secure home and love and respect. And I couldn't have asked for more.
Right, right. And over the years, how
And thank God I didn't read fairy tales growing up,
Oh yeah,
because those would have created a whole different set of biases.
of course.
Which thankfully I didn't have.
Right. केवल एक ही पर्सपेक्टिव दिखाया जाता है लव जो भी
हाँ,
फेरी
वो तो
टेल्स
मतलब
या जो भी हम पढ़ते हैं.
Stepfathers, stepmothers are always evil.
Right, right. So,
Brings me to Samaira, who has saved my number on her phone as Dia, not yet the evil stepmother.
oh my god,
That's what fairy tales do, right?
that's funny. Yeah,
I wonder if she's changed the description under my name.
that's funny actually.
We should find out.
Yeah. And also wanted to know, like, over the years, how did your relationship evolve with your stepfather?
I think it's a combination of many things. So when Abba married mom, I started calling him Abba. What would you like me to call you? So he said, I used to call my father Abba. Would you like to call me Abba? I said, yeah, it sounds nice. It sounds like Papa. So it was a no-brainer. So I guess in my child's heart and little mind, I was extremely accepting of him. What was very interesting about him when my parents first got together was that he was not a very demonstrative person. He was not a hugger. He was not like a cuddler. He was not somebody who was able to really express his emotions. And my mother and I are extremely expressive people. And my biological father was an extremely expressive man.
Oh, okay.
So there was naturally like that, comparison that I would keep making. But we managed to turn him into quite the hugger and quite the cuddler. And I will never forget the last time I met him in Hyderabad before I traveled for an overseas shoot, during which time he passed away. But the last time we met, I'll never forget the hug he gave me and the tears that he had in his eyes when he was saying goodbye. And my memories of Abba are very special because I never heard him say anything bad about a single human being. He was also a father I was from age 6, right? So he saw me through my younger formative years. He saw me through my teenage years. So a lot of my fundamentals, a lot of my values, a lot of the things that I learned to understand about life all came from him. I remember when I was cribbing about something that I didn't have or I wanted, and it was a material thing. Him saying, it's an adage, a phrase that is very, very commonly used, but it really stuck in my head. He said, I was complaining about my torn socks until I saw a man with no limbs. So always keeping that perspective in mind, to always be grateful for what you have and not complain. So many values, like live each day as it were your last. My Gandhian values, he was extremely well read. So we used to discuss from Franz Kafka to Isaac Asimov to like various writers and literary personalities. We used to discuss world politics. I used to be encouraged to participate in debates and conversations at home that he would be having with his friends. And his friends were extremely cerebral. They had very intelligent, interesting conversations that would last hours and hours and hours. And I was encouraged to participate. So I grew up with a father figure who believed that my opinion had value. There was no gender bias at home.
Yeah.
I was doing everything that my male cousins were doing, whether it was horse riding or swimming or learning how to drive. He was an extremely progressive, inclusive, wonderful father.
Yeah. और जैसे आपने बताया लाइक दोज इयर्स जब आपकी टीनेज ईयर्स आपके ट्रांसफॉर्मेटिव ईयर्स उनने पूरे देखे एंड ऐसा लगता है कि आपकी जो अपब्रिंगिंग है उसकी वजह से मतलब आपने आगे भी जो करियर चॉइस यू चोज एन अनकन्वेंशनल पाथ यू चोज मॉडलिंग एज योर करियर सो हाउ एक्सेप्टिंग वर योर फादर एंड मदर अबाउट योर करियर
वो तो इनफैक्ट ये एक्चुअली इंटरेस्टिंग सवाल है क्योंकि मॉम बहुत अगेंस्ट थी. शी डिडंट वांट मी टू परस्यू a career in modeling or in film. She came from a very academic family. वो चाहती थी कि मैं पढ़ाई करूं और लॉयर बनूं. मेरा एस्पिरेशन बड़े होते वक्त यही था कि मैं ह्यूमन राइट्स लॉयर बनूं.
ओके.
और बच्चों पे फोकस करूं और यूएन के साथ काम करूं. इंटरेस्टिंगली आगे बढ़ के वैसे ही कुछ हो गया है. बट तो वो चाहती थी कि मैं अपनी एकेडमिक्स परस्यू करूं. इट वाज अब्बा हु सेड नहीं, उसको जाने दो, वो जो कर रही है उसको करने दो. शी विल फाइंड हर ओन वे. यू हैव टू ट्रस्ट हर एंड बिलीव कि ये जो करने जा रही है या जो चाहती है, it'll lead her in the direction she eventually wants to go.
Right.
Don't hold her back.
और मैं unconventional इसलिए भी बोल रही हूँ क्योंकि उस समय की बात है when people used to choose either engineering or medical as their career choices.
वही नहीं, उस समय वो ऐसा समय था जहाँ पे बच्चे समर इंटर्नशिप्स करे ऐसे कोई सुनाई देता ही नहीं था. So it was all these choices were very rare and unique. मैं overnight बस लेकर जाती थी हैदराबाद से बेंगलोर. अब्बा मुझे बस स्टॉप पे छोड़ने आते थे. तब तो मोबाइल फोन्स भी नहीं थे. तो look at the levels and layers of trust here. Not just did he have the trust in me, but he also, I think, just felt safe to be able to do these things. I can't imagine dropping my 16-year-old to a bus stop at night for an overnight bus journey from one city to another without even a mobile phone.
Oh God, yeah.
Imagine.
I actually forgot there were no mobile phones back then. Yeah.
No. So the man had vision, clearly. He knew there was something bigger and more powerful at play, and he allowed us to go with the flow.
That's a very difficult choice to make for a child back in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the year 2000, when I talk about it, was a monumental year for you and for India.
Yeah.
So in that year, I think Lara Datta, Priyanka Chopra and you were the winners of Miss India.
Yeah.
Lara Datta went on to become Miss Universe. Priyanka became Miss World and you became Miss Asia Pacific.
Right.
So how important was that moment for you and how did that experience change your life?
It happened because Ahmad Ali Mirza said, "Isko jaane do." And he wrote a beautiful 2 lines. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. And he had written it in his handwriting and I had put it by my bedside. जब मैं Miss Asia Pacific के लिए गई थी Miss India के बाद, तो अब तक लारा had won. प्रियंका का और मेरा कॉन्टेस्ट एक साथ हो रहा था लगभग उसी समय में, मतलब 4 या 5 दिन का गैप था. तो जब मैं निकल रही थी अपने कॉन्टेस्ट के लिए तो हमारे जो मेंटर थे टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया के जो जिनके वजह से ही ये मिस इंडिया कॉन्टेस्ट हो रही थी, इन द वे दे वर हैपनिंग एंड एवरीथिंग, प्रदीप गुहा, ही वाज ड्रॉपिंग मी टू द एयरपोर्ट एंड आई रिमेंबर आस्किंग हिम, मैं नहीं जीती तो? सो ही सेड इट विल बी देयर लॉस, यू जस्ट गो बी योरसेल्फ एंड हैव अ ग्रेट टाइम. और मैंने बताया ना, ये मेरा पहला इंटरनेशनल फ्लाइट था. तो मैं पहले मतलब आई नेवर इवन ट्रैवल्ड इंटरनेशनली. दिस वाज द फर्स्ट टाइम आई वाज गोइंग अब्रॉड. आई वाज गोइंग अलोन. आई हैड नो entourage, I had no chaperone, I had no one with me.
Yeah.
As a support system.
Were you anxious?
I was terrified. today I look back and I realize, I was anxious also, because in those times again we didn't have the vocabulary to articulate anxiety. सिर्फ इतना पता था कि पसीने छूटते थे, हाथ गीले हो जाते थे, मतलब your chest would be like,
पहले मुझे हो रहा था.
like my heart rate was high and I could literally hear my heart in my mouth.
Yeah.
But I went to a beautiful place called Manila in Philippines.
Okay.
जहाँ पे सुष्मिता सेन पहले जीत चुकी थी.
Okay.
तो वहाँ के जो लोग थे, locals थे, और जो हमारे contest की chaperone थी, the head chaperone, I'll never forget her. We used to call her Tita Georgie. Tita basically means aunt in Spanish.
Okay.
And it was 172 countries were participating. And I felt very loved and very special, and I was very happy to be there. And वो pressure निकल गया था ना कि I had to win. प्रदीप गुहा ने वो हटा दिया था. So I just had a great time, and I remembered what both these simple, wonderful men had said. And I just went with the flow, and that seemed to have worked. The day of my contest, I was going into I was getting ready backstage, and I got a call and I was told that Priyanka Chopra had won the Miss World. And that's when I told Pradeep Guha again. I said, India has won Miss Universe, India has won Miss World. There's no way they're going to give me the Asia Pacific, because it's going to work against me. And again, they said, no, you be you, you do your thing. If you win, great. If you don't, again, we are saying this, it'll be their loss. Yeah. But that night, I felt some amount of pressure. I felt like, I hope I win. I really wanted to win it for India. And when my name did get announced eventually, I was like completely overwhelmed and overcome with joy. And we had a very big Indian audience seated in the live auditorium.
Okay.
That was just so loving and so kind. But I remember I couldn't stop crying all the way after the contest, all the way the drive to the hotel. Again, no mobile phones, right? Oh. I had to get to the hotel to be able to make a call, a trunk call to India to inform my parents that I had won.
Wow. Wow.
But I really felt like a winner the day I landed in India. That just the crowds at the airport, the photographers, the press, the garlands, the love, and my parents' faces. That's when I felt like, I've done something special.
Do you still remember the winning moment? आपको ऐसे याद है कि आप उस टाइम पे कैसा फील कर रहे थे, या जब आप इंडिया लैंड कर रहे थे? Still वो memory fresh?
Stage पे it was relief, just relief. I remember feeling just washed with relief. And when I arrived in India and I was walking out of the aircraft and walking into the arrival terminal, and I saw that crowd there, and I saw my parents, और लोग मतलब drums लेके आए थे, garlands थे, भीड़ थी, तब मुझे लगा I've कुछ special करके आई हूँ, I won. Yeah,
you had made India proud. Yeah. And ये पहले कभी नहीं हुआ था ना कि
दुनिया में कहीं नहीं हुआ था. So it was like also a Guinness Book of World Record moment. Oh, really? Because India was the only country to win all 3 titles in the same year. Yeah.
That was a big moment for the country.
It's a GQ question.
Yeah. True.
Textbook GQ question.
That's true.
But there are 3 things that it's important for me to acknowledge looking back now. One is, of course, the fact that these very generous people took the pressure off me and said, just be yourself and have a good time. But the other thing that happened was my life changed completely.
Right.
From being a regular kid who was, had a regular job, was going to a regular college, got a little bit of attention here and there, but nothing significant, to become a household name overnight was like a paradigm shift. It was a very big change.
Yeah.
And I think at that time is when, the कहते हैं ना, it's not an adversity, but popularity can be an adversity.
Okay.
If you lose yourself.
Right.
because it's so easy to forget who you are.
True.
And it was, I think that period really was like the cornerstone of character for me, because it really gave me the opportunity to identify what truly holds value for me as a person and where I want to go with all of this. And I think the one thing that really helped me at the time was being aware of how lucky I was to be in that situation.
Yeah.
For all of this that had changed in my life to happen.
Right. And during that time, did you, while you were processing all of this success and popularity, did you ever feel lost, overwhelmed?
Yeah, I was lost a lot, because it was a new space that I had to navigate. Overwhelmed for sure. Every time I had to go into a public gathering, which was sometimes people in thousands, it was terrifying.
Mm.
And yes, we were groomed to, manage our composure, kind of tap into our own inner resources and center ourselves before we went on stage or did any kind of public speaking job. During the Miss India training, we were also taught to do the Sudarshan Kriya, which is the art of living meditation. That really helped. But you have to lose yourself a little to be able to find yourself again. So I think in my early 20s, when I was 18, 6 days or so, 6th of December, I won the Miss Asia Pacific. On the 9th, I turned 19.
Okay.
And January or February 2001, I was shooting my first film.
Yeah.
So a lot changed very, very fast for me.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
And as you were talking about these interviews and all, I remember I used to love watching pageants on TV. तो सब कुछ ही टीवी पे आता था बाद में, and I used to watch.
ये तो लाइव आता था.
Right,
Miss India तो लाइव आया था.
Yes.
वो जैसे हो रहा था वैसे ही ब्रॉडकास्ट हो रहा था. सोनी पे आता था तब.
Yes, I do remember that. And I used to watch these interviews in which all three of you would appear together. So how was your bond with Lara and Priyanka?
So Lara and I became very, very close.
Okay.
And so much so that I lived with her when I moved to Bombay initially. She kind of took me under her wing. Priyanka lived in she lived with another friend of hers quite far away. We didn't interact as much as Lara and I would, because I mean हम लोग साथ रह भी रहे थे. तो हमारा बॉन्ड बहुत बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग हो गया था. और जब प्रियंका जीत गई मिस वर्ल्ड, देन शी ट्रैवल्ड अ लॉट दैट होल ईयर, एंड आई गॉट इनटू फिल्म, सो वी डिडंट रियली गेट अ चांस टू काइंड ऑफ रियली bond. We've bonded much later in life, because I think when you share that kind of an experience, it's bound to kind of have some kind of a connection for you. And it's a very special moment in all three of our lives. So there's a lot for us to kind of be grateful for, that we had each other. But when we became mothers is when we really connected strongly.
Right, all three of you are mothers.
Yeah.
So you were 19 when you were offered Rehnaa Hai Tere Dil Mein, and it went on to become one of the biggest romantic Bollywood hits, right? And you actually became the national crush of India. How was that experience for you, and how were you offered that movie?
So it wasn't the first film I signed. The first film I signed was a film called Om Jai Jagdish. And then I went on to signing 4 other films and started filming all of them. While I was filming my 3rd film, I got offered Rehnaa Hai Tere Dil Mein. And it was from the same producer who was making 2 other films with me.
Okay.
And ये अभी शूट करेंगे, अभी रिलीज हो जाएगा. This is going to be like this cult classic because it's a remake of the South film called Minale ये वो. And it's with Madhavan and Maddy को मैंने obviously देखा था, like everybody else. Seahawks में, बनेगी अपनी बात में, and he was a national crush already, and I also had a huge crush on him. So I said ये तो बहुत बढ़िया है, बहुत मजा आएगा इनके साथ काम करके. Anyway, so I signed that film. We went to shoot it. Interestingly, started shooting रहना है तेरे दिल में before I started shooting the other two. दूसरी दो फिल्मों का थोड़ा थोड़ा सा काम हुआ था. इसका pretty much non-stop start to finish situation था. ये शूट होते होते दूसरी 2-3 फिल्में शुरू हो गई थी, वो भी शूट हो रही थी. तो in my first year I actually shot 4 films. I shot for दीवानापन, ओम जय जगदीश, रहना है तेरे दिल में, एंड तुमको ना भूल पाएंगे, which was a film with Salman
Okay,
Khan.
yes.
And interestingly, the first film to release was रहना है तेरे दिल में. जब वो फिल्म आई थिएटर्स में, हमको लगा था कि बहुत बड़ी हिट होगी, लेकिन नहीं हुई. It failed. It was a box office disaster.
Wow.
और इतना जब किसी का हाइप होता है और जब पिक्चर पिट जाती है, फिर वही लोग जो आपको इतना चढ़ाते हैं वही आपको बहुत बहुत अच्छी तरह से गिराते भी है. सो आई रिमेंबर द अटैक्स एंड the criticism and the ugliness of many of the reviews, because they were very personal attacks on Maddy and on me. उसको मोटा बुलाया, मुझे कुछ और बुलाया. There were all kinds of name calling, and it was a very, very harsh reality check for both of us. So we, of course, fell very hard on the ground. Weeks after the film came, released, and got washed out of the theaters, the music started picking up, and more people were listening to the music.
Love the music of the movie.
And then years later I realized ये तो गाने रेडियो पे रोज बजते हैं. आप किसी भी समय रेडियो ऑन करो, या तो सच कह रहा है दीवाना चल रहा होता है, या तो ज़रा ज़रा, या तो दिल को तुमसे प्यार हुआ. And I'd be like, it's so strange ना, ये पिक्चर चली नहीं, इतनी बुरी तरह से बॉक्स ऑफिस पे पिट गई, पर लोग इसका म्यूज़िक बहुत सुनते हैं. फिर कुछ 8 साल बाद मैडी ने मुझे फ़ोन किया था एक बार और बोला था, तुमको एहसास भी है कि ये फिल्म कितने लोग देखते हैं?
हाँ.
I said, नहीं, क्या हो क्या रहा है इस फिल्म के साथ? So he said, it's become a cult classic.
Exactly.
It's one of the most viewed films on Indian television because वो जितने भी satellite उसके rights बिकी हैं, जितनी भी बार बिकी हैं, people have watched this film 40, 50, 100 times.
Right.
And of course, when people meet you in public spaces, लोग आते थे, I've seen your film 30 times, I've seen your film 40 times. And I'd be like, theater में देख लिया होता तो picture super hit हो जाती. Yes. But it was only much later that I realized what an iconic...
Years later, yeah?
Yeah. So sometimes gratification is not instant, and success is also not instant.
Right.
It took me, I mean, for me, I think one of the biggest questions of my career has been how I define success. Because when you leave a success to be defined by others, then no matter what you do, in their eyes, you are unsuccessful.
True. Yeah.
And it was actually after the colossal disaster of Rehnaa Tere Dil Mein and the fact that it led to me losing many big projects, it made me internalize and question what I wanted and what kind of a career I wanted to build and how I viewed and perceived myself and what direction I wanted to go in. All of that happened because the film didn't work. अगर वो चल जाती फिल्म तो शायद कुछ और ही होता.
उसके गाने अभी तक चल रहे हैं, अभी तक people use them on reels. Yeah, on Instagram. And did you at that time comprehend that you had become national crush of India?
No, but I think when I won the Miss India and the Miss Asia Pacific, the kind of love and the kind of like just genuine affection I would get from all age groups, that's why I got films, right? वो films नहीं मिलती अगर वो नहीं होता तो. But it's nice that the love has evolved with time.
Definitely it is.
Yeah, and in a very beautiful way, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yes. अभी भी आपको याद करते हैं तो रहना है तेरे दिल में के नाम से डेफिनेटली याद करते हैं, ज़रा ज़रा के नाम से याद करते हैं, एंड पीपल स्टिल लव यू द सेम as much they loved you at that time, उतने ही आपकी अभी भी फैन फॉलोइंग है, राइट?
Yeah. No, but it's very interesting. बहुत सारे ऐसे लोग थे जो बच्चे थे तब, आज वो बच्चे नहीं हैं. They're in positions of power. They're working in studios. They are directors. They're writers. They're editors. They're cinematographers. It's very interesting how they are making so many opportunities available for me today because of that love they have. And it's so amazing. Now, that's why I always say that Rehnaa Tere Dil Mein is a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah. With time. And talking about the movie, आपको initially तो इतना आपने बोला कि जितना एक्सपेक्ट किया था उस मूवी से आपको मिला नहीं. With time you got. But the co-actors Madhavan and Saif Ali Khan. So how was your bond with them and how was your experience working with them? In the initial जब आपको शुरुआत में मूवी मिली और आपको इन एक्टर्स के साथ काम करने मिला.
Madhavan, I was a little in awe, although he claims that he was in awe of me. I find that very hard to believe, but I was overawed by him because, like I said, he was like this guy who we all had a crush on.
Yeah.
Saif also was like, I think Saif was easier to kind of chat with and chill with because he was also just more accessible. Okay. Maddy was also kind of dealing with the pressure of getting the film made. So I think there was some amount of preoccupation connected with that. But I enjoyed working with both of them. We had, Maddy played more of a mentor's role. Like he was guiding me, advising me, helping me. We used to obviously rehearse scenes a lot, kind of try and hit the right notes and do stuff. And with Saif, it was just a great laugh. He was just, super fun to be around with, work with, yeah.
And when you meet them now, do you still talk about the movie and still talk about the old times?
Maddy and we connect about many other things because we have shared interests. We have, we've got shared passions. Maddy is also just like a super cool human being who has such varied interests, and he's so intelligent. I love talking to him. Saif and I actually have more than one film, that we worked on together. So we laugh about different things at different times. But again, Saif is like one of the most well-read people. He's so articulate. He's got such an interesting political view. There's so much to, kind of chat with him about and enjoy. And most often now it's like, how are the kids doing? And,
right.
Our conversations center around work and children and life in general.
Right, absolutely. And आपने जैसे शुरुआत में बात की थी entering Bollywood industry as an outsider. So how difficult was it to navigate through this?
I'll have to write a book about that someday.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, right? There's so many layers to that question. But if I had to be simple, it was hard. It was terrifying. It was... My hairdresser used to share my room with me for many years to ward off unwanted visitors. No, it was really hard. It was really hard. I myself look back now and I'm like, I don't know how I managed without, because a lot of the women in the industry have always had some parent around. Because somebody's father or somebody's mother has always been a very active participant in their film career. Right. I never had that. And so my team, my hairdresser, my makeup artist, my spot boy were like my safety net. And which is why I never changed those technicians and that support group for years. Prasad Anna was my spot boy for all of the years that I'd worked until he passed away. And I lost him in COVID. But, I had a hairdresser who worked with me for, I think, 16, 17 years straight from my first film. So that kind of created a safety net.
Right.
We used to have to find our own ways to survive.
Yeah. And talking about Bollywood industry again, initially we were talking about gender inequality that you face in the industry, and many actors talk about it, talking about the pay and even the roles that women play are lesser lead roles as compared to men. So what are your views on that?
See, when men are writing the stories, unless they are feminists, they won't be able to write inclusive stories. Yeah. They tend to kind of write things from their perspective, which is fair enough. Now, when the vast majority of writers are men, then that's what's going to happen. The dynamic only shifts when there is better representation of storytellers. So you have more women now, therefore you have better kind of parts for women. You're seeing more interesting characters being written for women. And then kind of the shift even in perception for men. So more men now are better informed, therefore they're writing better characters for women. Case in point, the way Anubhav Sinha wrote Thappad.
Yes,
It's a very feminist story written by a man. Another case in point would be Dhak Dhak, which is a film written by two men, Tarun Dudeja and Parijat Joshi. A story of 4 women. Yeah. I don't know how different it would have been if a woman had written that story. But it's interesting that men wrote that story and they've written it from such a, powerful lens. Right. So I feel as society evolves, as people get better informed, better aware, you'll start seeing that being reflected in the storytelling. So whether it is in the writing or the lensing or the staging or even the performances.
True.
There's so many things that I've done as scenes or the kind of characters I've played in my earlier films without even realizing how regressive some of that was, or how I was being objectified, or how patriarchal the mindset was in the projection of the character.
Yeah.
And all of that only becomes something that you learn about and become better aware of. Therefore, you can make better choices later.
And we've talked a lot about your career, but haven't discussed a lot about your personal life. And I am very interested to ask a bit about motherhood. So you mentioned that your son has turned 3.5. 3 now, yeah. So I wanted to talk a bit about your motherhood journey, your pregnancy journey. Can you share your experience?
Sure. So I've always been an extremely maternal person. Right from my childhood. All my friends were my babies. My mother was my baby. My father was my baby. And my work colleagues have been my children, so much so that, like Zayed and all call me Ammi Jaan. So I've always been maternal and I've always wanted to be a parent. Always wanted to be a mother. And agar meri bus chalti, to I'd have a baby when I was 26. But life had different plans for me. And I finally conceived when I was 39. And Avian was delivered in a very crazy situation. It was a complicated delivery. I basically developed a very acute bacterial infection, which could have been a side effect of appendix surgery in my 5th month. But we don't know for sure what happened. But something happened in the end of my 6th month. We discovered that my placenta was hemorrhaging and that my body was going into sepsis. And if the baby was not pulled out, neither of us would have been saved. So yeah, it was quite scary. So in a fraction of seconds, decisions had to be made. I was made to lay down in the back seat of my car and I was driven to Surya Hospital in Santa Cruz, which is a specialty children's hospital. And at 8:10 p.m., I remember my gynecologist looking at me and he said, "You trust me?" I said, "Yes, I do." And I do. I trust him with my life. He's the best doctor ever. And he said, "I know this is terrifying, and I know that you would have wanted to keep your baby longer, but this is the best thing for your child."
And for you as well.
I was least of my priority. I was like, save my kid. Because I just so wanted this child. And that was it. He was born and he was taken away to the NICU. He was born at 810 grams.
Okay.
And I was attached to an IV antibiotic, and they discovered 48 hours later that the bacteria that was in me was life-threatening.
Okay.
But they managed to kind of deal with it. I was on IV antibiotics for 21 days. And Avyan had to go through life-saving surgery 36 hours after he was born.
Wow.
So at 810 grams, we found out that he had a perforation in his intestine, which is a hole in the intestine. And he went through surgery and they put a stoma on him where basically they pull the intestine out of the
Bag.
body. There was no pack. It was an exposed stoma.
Okay.
And from that point, that child started gaining strength, healing, recovering. And when he was 2.5 kilos, I was made to, this is COVID also, huh? I was allowed to visit him only twice a week. I could not hold my child till he was 2.5 kilos.
God. Yeah.
I'm actually writing a book for him
Okay.
where I'm describing all of this, and it's really hard. But he has taught us grace like nothing else in this world has, and strength. And I use the word grace because, my God, it takes another kind of grace to be able to endure and survive and smile through the pain that that child has gone through. And then 2.5 kilos, I brought him home for exactly 20 days. And before I did that, I had to stay in the NICU to learn how to dress him and keep him infection-free. And no nurse outside the hospital was willing to touch him.
Okay.
Because it was just a really terrifying visual. And I was like, no, I'll handle it. I just need the support at home. So help me with everything else. I'll handle the dressing and everything. 20 days he came home. He became 3.5 kilos. We took him back to the hospital. He went through a 3.5-4 hour surgery where his stoma was corrected.
Okay.
And then he was supposed to come, Avyan was supposed to be born somewhere around 15th of August. That was his due date.
Okay.
And it's so crazy, but by the time his second surgery happened, and the doctors had said 21-day hospitalization and it'll take time. This kid was ready to be home on day 5.
Okay.
On day 9, they discharged him. Guess what date it was?
15th of August. Okay, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, life has its own plans.
But I'm wondering, how did you gather so much courage and strength to see your child go through so much? He must have been so little at that time. You mentioned 850 grams.
Yeah, 810, and then when the surgery happened, he became 700 grams. Strength. I think it comes from because I loved him so much and I wanted him so much. I didn't for a second believe that he would leave me. And I had implicit faith in the universe that इतने बरसों बाद, इतने prayers के बाद अगर आया है, तो छोड़ के तो नहीं जाएगा मुझे. And I tapped into every prayer I had access to, and every.
Yeah, I'm having goosebumps to even
Yeah.
think about
I
you
remember
going through so
listening to
much.
Mahamrityunanja mantra on repeat, praying to every master there is, to protect him and keep him safe. And I don't know what it is, but I really think that there's an energy that transfers. And Avyan gave me indescribable strength. He just did. And I did not feel fear for a fraction of a second
Yeah.
through that
Wow.
entire period. I never once felt कि इसको कुछ हो सकता है. I'd be like, whatever it is, we're going to get through it. We'll be fine. We will be fine. Yeah.
That's
I still
really-
feel like that.
Yeah. That's quite moving and बहुत scary भी है सुनने में.
Yeah, but
But how do you deal with
I
it?
share this because there are many young parents. There are many parents who are going through this experience, and
Yeah.
it can be terrifying because there's so little information in the public space about premature births
Yes.
and the complications that premature births come with. And now with the level of pollution and environmental degradation, the rate of premature births has increased tenfolds globally and especially in India. So this is something that could offer somebody strength, could offer somebody some kind of,
Yeah.
insight.
We've recently raised funds for 2-3 mothers. They had NICU babies, and not many people are privileged to go through that kind of a treatment. And
Yeah, it's expensive.
Yeah.
It's challenging. Every second, every day is different. Things turn very quickly. Yeah.
so when you got married to Vaibhav, he already had Samaira in his life. So how did you navigate through this relationship, and how difficult or easy was it to bond?
Maybe life had prepared me for this situation because my own experiences taught me so much. I had a better sense of what Sam must have gone through when her parents separated.
Yes.
And I think, of course, their experience was totally different from mine because my parents were, good friends, and it was very different. My perception of divorce and separation was very different from Samaira's perception of divorce. But I think I could empathize more deeply with her because I had such a strong understanding of what it is like to be a child of separated parents. And I think Sam made it very easy for me because she was so accepting. And it's really always the child that determines, the course of the relationship.
Right.
And I've only always taken her cues. If she's wanted me to be more involved, I've been more involved. If she's wanted me to step back a bit, I've stepped back a bit. And at different ages and stages, things change. Sometimes they change within the course of the day. So you just have to follow her cue and her take her lead.
Yeah.
But I think in many ways, Samaira made me a mother first. And I also feel like she kind of made Avyan possible because I think as a woman, you need to feel a certain way to be able to conceive a child.
Right.
Especially when in the later years of your
Agreed.
life, when you're post 35. So she manifested her baby brother in many ways. And she's insanely in love with him.
Yeah.
And that really helps. But it's also, it's not a bed of roses. It's not easy to be a parent to a growing daughter who's a teenager now. I have a toddler and a teenager. There are days that can be extremely challenging emotionally and physically. But this is what I've always wanted. So I'm reveling in it. I'm having the time of my life.
Right.
I was like, dene wala, jab bhi deta chappad paad ke.
Right. And it is very refreshing to see the bond that you both share. You're more like friends, it feels like. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, that's the first
Step.
towards any relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
With this, we've almost come to the end of the podcast, but I have a rapid fire for you,
Okay.
which I really love.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start with the rapid fire. One harsh truth about Bollywood.
Sexist.
Craziest rumor you've heard about yourself.
I mean, all the actors and co-actors and directors that I've been linked with in the press. Because I've always been very open about my relationships. If I've dated someone, I've openly dated the person. So when I used to get linked with some very random people, I'd be like, "Ye kya ho raha hai?"
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Biggest misconception about beauty pageants.
That they're fickle.
Right. Your favorite Hyderabadi lingo word.
Nakko, how, kaiku are some of my favorites.
Yeah, we did the podcast with Saina Nehwal as well.
Yeah.
She is also from Hyderabad. So they also did Hyderabadi lingo, this challenge sort of a thing. Very funny. One thing that Hyderabad has and Mumbai doesn't.
Space.
True. Your favorite co-star.
You know, when I was shooting Dhak Dhak, the kind of bond I felt with the girls,
Yeah.
I've never felt on a film set with any of my male co-actors.
And this is very recent.
It is very recent, and I think it's also because of the journey we went on, the kind of shared experience we had making the film. The fact that we were riding the bikes, we traveled from Delhi to Khardungla. It was such a physical film.
Yes.
There was so many things that were kind of determining what we were feeling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say Fatima, Ratna, and Sanjana.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah,
And
one more, I think, Dishita.
Okay. Yes.
The child who played my daughter
Right,
in
right.
Kafir. It was magical.
Really?
That relationship, that experience, that bond.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. I felt like, because like I've always been so strongly maternal.
That's what I was about to say.
But the bond that I had shared with that child, and we kind of developed with each other while working together, was just so beautiful. Yeah.
Great. That's great. And one message to the listeners of People of India.
There are so many Indias within India. And life, how it plays out, what holds meaning, what holds value, is so relative. I just hope we can all find a way to go back to nature. 2-3 things that have really helped me through my challenges and through my life and through adversity, and have kept me grounded, is the time that I spend in nature.
Yeah.
That daily interaction with nature and meditating. If every one of us can find that superpower and that relationship, we should be able to overcome anything.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's
Yeah.
lovely. And thank you so much for giving us time. It was lovely.
Thank you. Thank you for spotlighting beautiful people and their stories, and doing it with the grace and the love and the simplicity that you do it with.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.